So, you're American? Well, some places don't want you there. Surprised? Don't be. While Americans are well known worldwide, there are certain countries where US citizens aren't exactly welcomed with open arms. It's not all sunshine and rainbows everywhere, and for various reasons, some nations have a rather cold stance when it comes to rolling out the red carpet for visitors from the USA. So before we dive in, make sure to hit the like button. We're aiming for 5,000 likes on this video. Now let's talk about 10 countries where Americans are not welcome in 2024. 10. Myanmar. Kicking off our list is Myanmar. As of 2024, this Southeast Asian country has a population of just under 55 million. But if you're an American, don't expect a warm welcome. The military coup in February 2021 threw Myanmar into turmoil, with civil unrest and armed conflict becoming a part of daily life. For US citizens, visiting Myanmar is anything but straightforward. The visa process is a hassle, taking at least 3 working days, and once you arrive, the US government strongly advises against traveling within the country due to arbitrary law enforcement and limited healthcare access. Add to that the US sanctions on Myanmar, and you can see why American tourists aren't exactly on the guest list. 9. Yemen. Next up is Yemen, home to around 30 million people. It's no secret that Yemen has been engulfed in conflict since 2015, leading to a severe humanitarian crisis. For Americans, visiting Yemen is more than just difficult, it's actively discouraged. The US State Department has issued a strict do not travel advisory, warning about civil unrest, terrorism, and the risk of kidnapping. Securing a visa is nearly impossible, and even if you do manage to get in, the hostility toward Americans, partly due to US involvement in military operations, makes it one of the worst destinations for US citizens. 8. Somalia. Somalia, with a population of about 15 million, is another country where American visitors aren't exactly embraced. The country's instability, combined with ongoing conflicts, makes it one of the most dangerous places for US citizens. One major reason for the hostility is the US military's involvement in combating the Al-Shabaab insurgents. The visa process is extremely restrictive, and security risks range from bureaucratic hurdles to life-threatening dangers. With millions displaced and a dire humanitarian crisis, Somalia is far from a tourist-friendly destination. 7. Venezuela. Venezuela, home to over 28 million people, has had a tense relationship with the United States for years. Economic sanctions, political disputes, and deep mistrust have made it a tough place for American visitors. For those looking to visit, the visa process is a complicated maze filled with bureaucratic roadblocks. Even if you get in, high living costs and political tensions make everyday interactions stressful. While there are about 23,000 US citizens living in Venezuela, the general sentiment towards Americans isn't exactly welcoming. 6. Libya. Libya has seen more twists and turns than a thriller movie. With a population of around 7 million, this North African country is one of the most dangerous places for American travelers. The US government has a do not travel advisory in place due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, and kidnappings. The 2012 attack on the US consulate in Benghazi significantly worsened relations, making Libya an extremely risky destination for Americans. On top of that, the visa process is tough, and if your passport has an Israeli stamp, you won't be allowed entry at all. 5. Syria. Syria, a country rich in history and culture, has unfortunately been overshadowed by ongoing conflict. The situation here is similar to Libya, but even more severe. The US has issued a Level 4 travel advisory citing risks such as terrorism, civil unrest, kidnappings, and armed conflict. Getting a Syrian visa as an American is almost impossible, and if you somehow do manage to enter, the overall environment remains hostile due to the US's involvement in the region's geopolitics. Afghanistan. Afghanistan, with a population of about 38 million, has been a hotspot for geopolitical tensions for decades. The US government strongly advises its citizens not to travel there due to terrorism, kidnappings, and the risk of wrongful detention. The visa process is extremely difficult, and even if you manage to obtain one, entering Afghanistan is full of risks. Various terrorist groups are active in the country, and Americans are prime targets for kidnapping. With so much instability, it's no surprise that Afghanistan isn't a safe destination for US citizens. Iraq, home to around 40 million people, has had a complicated relationship with the United States, particularly since the 2003 US-led invasion. For Americans, getting a visa can be a bureaucratic nightmare. While visas on arrival are available, the exit process is complicated, and the security situation remains highly unstable. Government corruption, armed groups, and reports of human rights violations make it an extremely risky place for US travelers. Iran, with a population of around 83 million, is an ancient land filled with breathtaking landscapes and a deeply complex history with the United States. The tension between the two countries dates back to the 1979 Iran hostage crisis, when Iranian students stormed the U.S. embassy, holding Americans hostage for 444 days. Fast forward to today, and relations are still strained. The U.S. State Department has issued a Level 4 travel advisory, warning Americans about the risk of arbitrary arrest and detention. The visa process for Americans is notoriously difficult, taking anywhere from 1 to 3 months to process. And once inside, you can forget about using credit or debit cards. International banking is restricted, meaning you'll need to carry cash. While Iran has a rich history, Americans must be extremely cautious if they choose to visit. Finally, at the top of the list is North Korea, officially known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, with a population of around 25 million. The US and North Korea have had a long and tense relationship, with decades of political standoffs, nuclear threats, and a war that technically never ended. For Americans, visiting North Korea is nearly impossible. Since September 1, 2017, the US has banned its citizens from using their passports to enter North Korea, except under special circumstances. Even before this ban, obtaining a visa required joining a strictly monitored tour group with government-approved guides. If you do somehow get in, be prepared to follow strict rules. Unauthorized conversations with locals are prohibited, and any joke or criticism about the government could land you in serious trouble. The risk of detention is real, as seen in the tragic case of Otto Warmbier, an American student who was arrested in North Korea and later died after being released in a coma. In short, traveling to North Korea as an American is like walking on eggshells. You never know if your next step will be your last in terms of freedom. And that wraps up our list. If you want to know about the 20 most dangerous cities in Europe where you could be at risk, check out the video on your screen now.